Accendii, light up your brand.
Good afternoon, dear followers. My name is Yulia. I'm a founder of Accendii, an online platform for building a personal brand and a marketing agency. Today, I'm happy to continue our interview series with our next guest, Daniel Daggers. Daniel is an award-winning real estate advisor who made $4 billion in sales and is a UK Property Advisor of the Year. Daniel will share with you top secrets of building a strong personal brand and how important it is for a real estate agent to stand out on a personal level, and will give you some business tips that will help you make more sales and grow quicker. Hi Daniel, thanks for joining me here today.
My pleasure, thank you for having me.
So, how did you start your career?
I left school when I was 17. I didn't have the right grades to go into university. I studied surveying, the structure of buildings, and after a couple of months I realised that it wasn't for me, and I fell into real estate. I tried to become a professional footballer and I broke my collarbone, and that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't good enough, and I went and got an interview in an estate agency and got the job and sat in the desk and was sat there for 10 years when I was 17 and a half.
What was the most challenging moment in your career?
I think my whole career has been a challenge. When you're unbelievably driven to succeed, you're hit all the time with roadblocks and obstacles. And so everything's been a challenge, especially in the past 2 years. Setting up the new business and with COVID and other things like that has been extremely challenging. There hasn't been really one thing.
How did you manage to build a strong personal brand?
I saw it super quickly 6 years ago that digital channels were vitally important, and then you end up embracing yourself and then digitizing it. So I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I digitize it, and then what happens is your audience tends to follow you because they resonate with you, and it becomes like a created audience that you have done unknowingly, and so that's how I did it.
Who is your role model? Who inspires you, or what?
I take a lot of inspiration from anyone that I meet, right? Because I think there's something to learn from everybody that you meet, and you're in a constant place of learning, right? So there's that. I think my father and my mother had a massive impact on my life. I was fortunate enough to be raised by two parents, and I learned a lot from both of them. But I think there's an element of really appreciating yourself, yeah, and you're going to be challenged your whole life. And so a bit like Matthew McConaughey, he's a very famous actor, there's a speech about him saying, who's your hero? And he said, me in 10 years time. But when you get to the 10th year, you're still not the person, right? There's another 10 years to go. And I think there's an evolution of trying to consistently be your own hero, yeah, because that'll give you confidence to continue to do better.
I love your answers.
Thank you.
What are the benefits of a successful personal brand in your opinion?
In my industry, I think it's one of the most important things that you can do, and will be a necessity for any real estate agent moving forward. And I think that it can run your business for you. That's how important I think it is. And if you don't have it, there's a huge lack of trust if people can't research you. And social is the place where you can tell your story as opposed to other people tell the story for you. So it's a really important reference point and research function for potential customers moving forward.
Great. What's the key to succeeding in the real estate market?
It's an insanely competitive industry, and I think with social handles, accountability falls on the individual, which is great because it will clean the system up naturally, but I think consistency is vitally important. Working harder than everyone else in the room is insanely important, and recognizing patterns, because as soon as you're able to recognize patterns ahead of other people, what you can do is add value to an equation where other people that offer the same service don't see the pattern as quickly as you. And being totally accountable to your actions is nice, because the potential customer or client is going to respect you more for it.
How competitive it is?
I think if the customer base knew how competitive it really was, and what went on, they would be more considerate about the individuals they choose to do business with, because it's insanely competitive. You know, we're talking about large sums of money, and not only that, when you mix it with a really emotional time in people's lives, right? Moving home is one of the most stressful things on the planet that you'll ever do. When you combine that with the sum of money that people are spending and the commission involved, it's really important that you deal with someone that you trust.
What qualities should a real estate agent have to be successful?
They need to be energetic, totally customer focused, empathetic, so they need to understand how their potential customers feel. They need to be able to recognize patterns. They need to work harder than everyone else. A lot of it is about covering as much ground as possible, and being relatable to the customer base, but also setting a good example and making good impressions, because your customers are people that will be customers for the next 2 decades of their lives, and on average people move every 5 years. So if that's the case, you've got 4 transactions over 20 years, and those people will choose to do business with an individual if they can, and they will do in the future. So consistency is definitely up there.
Share a secret of selling.
A secret of selling? Let's say moving forward, you can get a lot of data points on clients now, right? So I could research you, for instance, on your social media handles. I can see what things you like, and then I can reference those things when I talk to you and I'm showing you a home, which is going to create an element of empathy and connection between us. And then you will say, oh, well, he knows roughly what I'm interested in, what I like. And I think that's going to be a real big focal point for a lot of people moving forward.
Do you have any tips for newbie real estate agents?
Yeah. Set up a social media handles. All of them are the same over all digital channels. Onboard all your friends, all your family onto them, and then go and work for the best person you can work for, because you'll scale the industry much quicker when you're listening to someone who's already succeeded. But being absolutely customer focused is extremely important. You need to understand the customer unbelievably well.
Do you have any fun stories from your career or business?
I've got loads of stories. I've met some of the most influential, powerful, wealthiest, most charming people on the planet in very intimate environments, looking through homes, and yeah, I've had a lot of fun. But if I shared all my secrets with these people, they might not choose to do business with me again. So it's a bit difficult to say what fun things have happened. But I had a lot of fun showing Rihanna around homes in London and helping her find a home. That was great fun. She was lovely. And yeah, there's loads of great stories, including times where I was in Russia, in Moscow and St. Petersburg, meeting clients and advising them. It was great fun. Too much vodka, let's put it that way. Too much vodka.
Do you like working with Russian clients?
Yeah, I mean, at one point we worked a lot with Russian clients and it went very quiet, and now they're starting to come back into the marketplace. But they had a massive impact on London, you know, and the world actually. Well, they did, less so now, but they were a real force to be reckoned with, you know, a decade ago. The Russians were buying, they created a super prime market in London, and they bought the best in class real estate. Will that happen again? Yes, possibly. We'll see. We're starting to see a few Russians come back into the market, so it would be nice.
Can you recommend some podcasts?
Sure, I would recommend the All In podcast with Chamath Palihapitiya and David Sachs. They're billionaires, multimillionaires in Silicon Valley, and they talk very openly and freely about finance and tech and government policy and all this sort of stuff. It's fantastic, it's brilliant. love listening to them, and a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, who is who's all about social media, and he's someone that I was listening to 6-7 years ago when I started my social media personal branding project, and he's great.
Has the situation with the coronavirus affected with your business or plans?
Sure, I work in the super prime sectors. That's properties valued in excess of £10 million or £5,000 a week, residential homes, and most of those parties in central London are foreign buyers. And with Corona, everyone's locked down in their homes and they weren't able to come to London. So it did slow the market down, but because there is an element of trust that I have with multiple clients, we were able to commit to transactions in London whilst they were abroad. So we've rented homes for £17,500 a week and sold homes for 8 million, 13 million at the moment for a royal family, £100 million home, all to clients from overseas that really trust the process and the relationship that they have with me. So the market's been okay, but I suspect it's going to get a lot better when we've got freedom of movement. And I think a lot of people have missed London.
Absolutely agree with you. But what do you think, is it going to happen very soon, or when do you expect improvement in real estate business?
The market has been pretty good between £1 and £10 million, which is a very local market. It's been really good, very strong. Deal volume has been high, values are creeping up. That's because people have decided to make commitments now, right? They've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and now they've said, okay, we're going to go and do it and pull the trigger. The super prime sector has been slower, so from 15 to 100 million has been much slower. But I think this market is going to rebound, and we'll see the Middle Eastern market, for instance, over the summer it gets too hot there, so they come to London, and I think they're going to be coming to London and making commitments and buying property. And then we're waiting to see our comrades in Russia, in the UK, and I think that we'll see a big influx of US buyers as well.
US buyers?
Yeah. Wow. Look, a lot of wealthy people made even more money during Corona.
Absolutely.
Right? So they're going to want to deploy that cash into investments and hard assets, because there's probably an element of concern of inflation, and when you buy a hard asset, it's a hedge against inflation. So I can see that happening and the market being very buoyant in London.
So recently the prices on the properties, they dropped.
Well, everyone thought it was going to go like this.
Yes.
And then there was
growing,
the market was compressed, so there was less properties available.
Yeah.
So the people who wanted to make commitments decided to overpay for stuff, or pay more, I should say. So the prices have gone up. But then when you get to a place where there's less buyers in the market, the value slowed because there wasn't as much competition. So it's a bit like climbing a mountain. At the bottom, there's loads of people that can climb that 100 meters, 200 meters. But then as you get to the top, only the super fit get there, and there's less of them, right? So that's a bit like the property market.
What would you have changed in your past?
I could have left my first business sooner, probably 2 years earlier, and moved to the second business earlier. That might have sped up my career. But I really wouldn't change much. I believe in playing the long game. I like recognizing what's going on around me, and sometimes it takes time. I think when you're younger, you don't have as many reference points, you don't recognize patterns as quickly, and it just took me time. But I don't really have any regrets, to be honest.
May I ask you, what was your business before you started to work with real estate?
I didn't have a business. I was 17 and a half. I left school. I didn't have the grades to go to university. I did a year's degree in business studies. It was the only time in my schooling life where I was really invigorated. I was like, oh wow, now all of a sudden I understand why we're learning this, because this allows us to make money, which makes the world go around. And so that makes sense to me. That was the first time in, I don't know how many years, 14 years of being at school, 13 years of being at school, and actually understanding why I'm learning something. And so I left there, and I really fell into real estate then. and went straight into work when I was 17 and a half. I watched how the internet took the business on and moved it forward, and now the next phase of social
So all
and digital.
your life you're doing
Yeah, my
this?
whole life is, I would say 3/4 of my life has been spent in real estate.
That's impressive.
It's called commitment and consistency. That's what it's called.
Yeah. How does your ideal day look like?
A hard question to answer. The beauty of being in real estate is that every day is different. So an ideal day would be go and have a coffee or go to the gym, have a coffee, meet some clients, buy loads of real estate, have a great lunch, then buy more real estate, then come home, probably play football because I love it, it's my release, and then watch my Arsenal team beat Chelsea or someone like that. That's probably the perfect day.
Great. What do you value in people?
Loyalty. I value loyalty considerably, and consistency, and I keep saying that. Those two things are like foundations of the relationship that you'll have with somebody. I think they're the two things. My closest friends are not party animals. They're not, huge fun. They're not extravagant. They're very low key, charming people that I know that if I needed something from them, they would do it no problem for me, and vice versa. So, yeah, those two things. Excuse me.
I believe that really people who surround you, they reflect you. They
Sure.
are like a mirror, yes. And you should surround yourself with the right people, because yes.
Well, look, I think you go through phases in life, right?
Yes.
First phase is you're young and dumb and you want to go out and have fun, and you don't really care about recourse or issues that might happen because, it's your youth. And then you gradually start getting older and you want to be part of the cool crowd, and you think it's really important to be part of the cool crowd, and sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, as long as you don't sacrifice too much of your soul to be seen as cool. And then gradually you start to realize that actually none of that really makes a difference, and surrounding yourself with people that you can trust, that will be honest with you when you need them to be honest with you, pull you down when you're getting a bit too high on your own supply, or push you up when you feel a bit down. Those people are the ones you want to stand by.
What qualities are of a strong leader?
I've had loads of quite a few different leaders in my life at work, and I've seen how, firstly, no one's perfect, right? But one thing I've recognized is that when you push leaders and you get to a point where there's a little bit of threatening, right? i.e. they're threatened by you. I think leaders can sometimes push back and find it very difficult to comprehend that, and I don't want to be that person. So people always know where they stand with me. I think it's really important as a leader that you give people the comfort that they don't feel you're trying to do anything behind their back, and you're very honest with people, on the understanding that they know that you want the best for them. And so they're attributes that I think are important. Yeah.
So how do you define success?
Many people think success is by the sums of money that you can earn, but really I think it's freedom. Success I see in my own eyes as being able to do things that I want to do when I want to do them. And if you get to a point in your life where you have the ability to do that, then I think that you are successful.
Daniel, what's your superpower?
My superpower? Integrity. So what I say is what I mean, and nothing you can do is going to change that. So I think my integrity is my superpower.
Have you employed anyone to help you with marketing?
Yeah, I think marketing is vitally important. And the reason why I say that is previously you had like 5 outlets for marketing. It'd be newspapers, radio, TV, if you had the opportunity. But now you've got email and text and all the digital channels. So if you're not marketing over those channels, then you're blind and deaf to the whole customer base. So I've got a head of marketing and some people in support to make sure that we are speaking to the right audience in the right way.
Daniel, thank you very much. It was
My pleasure. My hand's gone numb from leaning on it.
Accendii, light up your brand.